From the iconic Corky and Lenny's Restaurant and Delicatessen in Woodmere, Ohio, we are the Fabulous Boomer Boys.
All right.
Slow crowd tonight. Full house, but a little slow, Bruce. I don't know.
Maybe you didn't recognize our name?
Well, I don't know. I'm Bob Snyder. This is Bruce Bogart. And we've been friends since the 4th grade. And we started this show 26 years ago, took a break after being on WHK Radio, for those of you watching this for the first time. And we decided almost a year ago that we would do a show on YouTube similar to what we did on WHK Radio, aimed at baby boomers. And
Here we are.
here we are, right, okay. So we've got a great guest coming up. Before I even get to that, I do want to remind people that we'll be on next week, because we do take a week off here and there. And Bruce, we have a guy whose name is like, it's really kind of funny with what he does, Philip Scary.
He's an author.
Okay, what kind of an author?
First of all, I brought the book. One of his books.
One of his books.
I have bad news, Bob. No pictures. I don't know what you're going to do with it.
Forget that
Anyway,
one.
this guy wrote a book about something that I can't really relate to. The entire book is about the shower scene in Psycho.
Is that because you don't take showers, or because it's
No,
like,
don't hurt me. No, I was afraid of scary movies growing up.
That's true. I
never
remember
saw
that.
it. But I never saw it. And not because I didn't date, although I didn't date in those days. But anyway, he'll be here. He has moved from New York to Cleveland, Ohio. And he's living here. He's got another book coming out in the fall. But he's going to everything you want to know about that one scene. Can you imagine writing a whole book about one scene?
I hope he's more interesting than that.
You know, Bob, that hurts. That really hurts.
Okay, all right.
He's probably watching this show.
Oh, okay. Well,
And
it's
if
going
I
to be...
get a call that he's not coming because of you, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to be on you because, very honestly, the high holidays are coming. You think about that.
All right. Well, anyway, can I say one thing about Psycho, or should I say it
whatever you
or not? I actually remember the date I had that I took to see the movie Psycho.
Go figure.
Can you say that?
I didn't have a date.
Oh, all right. Well, anyway, I
think I
remember,
started dating my
and
second
I'm going to
year-
say
second
who
year of marriage.
I'm going to say who it is. It was a Heights girl. Her name was Judy Krell, and she was so scared of this movie. And I got to tell you, I put the old arm around and stuff like that, and I didn't expect anything. But she was so scared, she cuddled up with me that entire movie, especially from that shower scene on. So I recommend that highly to anybody out there if you want to be close to somebody to watch that movie in the shower scene. Okay, all right, let's get to tonight. Talking about celebrities, and we've had some great ones on our show that are very well known throughout Northeast Ohio. Robin Swoboda, Jan Jones, list goes on and on. John Gorman just a couple weeks ago. Neil Zucker last week from One Tang Trips. Tonight we have more of a local talent, okay? And he is, first of all, let me tell you, he's a Hall of Famer. He's in the Beechwood Softball Men's Hall of Fame. He's a Beechwood Men's Softball Commissioner.
Is that how we got in the Hall of Fame?
Well, he votes on who gets in, so we'll have to ask him. I don't. But anyway, I'm in that Hall of Fame too, by the way.
No wonder you brought it up. Let's move on.
Okay, all right. Anyway, so, but the reason he's on the show tonight is because he has become quite a collector over the years of very famous memorabilia and autographs and pictures of celebrities in all walks of life. So we wanted to talk to him about it because I think he's going to be finally getting rid of some of these things. And we're going to talk to him about it. So we want a big round of applause for Larry Adelman. Larry, thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
Larry and I have known each other for a long time. Oh, what's the matter? Security.
We're not doing politics tonight. Right.
No politics.
Right, no politics tonight. No politics tonight. Except for one thing.
You got impeached?
I did.
What's that all about?
You want me to tell that story?
Well, you're here.
Well, Bob asked me before we started here if there was anything that he didn't want me to talk about. I didn't want to talk about, and there was two incidences. One was my sex life, or lack thereof, and number two was the fact that I was impeached. I was the president of my elementary school, and in sixth grade, whoever was elected president is the president of the school, and I happened to run against three girls. And I knew I would win, not because I was so popular, but I knew that the boys would vote for the boys and the girls' vote would be split. And to no one's surprise, I won. And my duties were to pass out some of the jobs to the various students, which I did. I gave them almost all of them to the boys. And about 2 weeks into my term, Mrs. Glein came up to me and she said, "I'm relieving you of your duties." And my mother came to school, and there was a lot of crying and tears. But unfortunately, I have to put that on all my resumes. So that's the story.
Well, you're here to talk about it.
But there is one political thing we can't say, and I think you're proud of it. A guest we had on the show earlier this year, Stacy Vincent, happens to be your daughter. She's an Emmy Award-winning television personality at one time, but now she works at the Orange School District. She's going to be running for Orange City Council. So we want to give a shout out to Stacy. She's not here tonight.
Thank you
But, so everybody in Orange, take a good look at your candidates and vote for Stacy.
Thank you for
But all
that
right,
plug.
so you're here tonight though, because somewhere along the line, you became one of these collectors. How did it start?
Well, it actually started probably 60 years ago. My father was an executive at a company called National Screen Service, which happened to be the world headquarters for trailers or previews, whatever they're known as today. And it so happened that a lot of the movie stars in particular used to come to their offices to promote their films.
Was that in town here?
And yes, it was on Payne Avenue, 72nd and Payne. And I think Payne is still there, I'm not sure.
Barely.
But in any case, these stars, Elizabeth Taylor, Humphrey Bogart, some of the silent screen stars used to come in, excuse me, and he'd present them with a picture if he had one, and they'd sign it as an autograph. And if not, he just had them scribble something on a scratch piece of paper. And lo and behold, these things started to come in, and he gave some to me and some to my sister. Actually, I gave some to my sister, the ones I basically didn't want.
Oh, you were the favorite.
Yeah, I was definitely the favorite. And in any case, that's where it all started with movies and TV, and eventually it became developed more into sports and political. And at one stage, I started collecting a few of the presidents in auctions. I do have a 2-second cute story about that. I had known the presidents in order when I was about 6 years old, and one of my grandsons, I was telling him that I knew the presidents in order when I was your age, and he says, "That's great, Poppy, but how many could there have been?" True story.
Great line.
And I said it went up to Lincoln, so there you go.
Wait,
Okay.
But stars don't really come to Cleveland like they used to.
No.
Okay,
no.
so how are you collecting these things? What are you doing? Traveling the world? What are you doing?
No, there's a combination. As I said, my dad, dinners, shows, auctions, in travels. There are some. Some were done by mail. Most of them were done in person at my house. Probably more people here can relate more to the article that they did, but a lot of them were basically inscribed to me, and some stars won't do that.
Right.
But and a lot of card shows and things like that. Just a multiple amount of sources.
So who do you have over there, Bob?
All right, let's show some of it. We do want to say we'll talk about it a little later, but you're going to be moving, so you had to take these down. So we
Correct.
didn't. All right. I was in Larry's house for any of you who have been there. Unbelievable. The walls in the basement are fully covered with all these stars. Let's start with, see if we can get a picture of this, Tyler and Liz. This is the all-time greatest right-handed pitcher in Major League, as far as I'm concerned, and I'd have to say Bob Feller. Okay, who happened to be a Cleveland Indian. So
Well, this was at fantasy camp, and it was.
Look how young you were. Look how young Larry was.
I wasn't that young.
Really?
I wasn't that young. Actually, it was a 50th birthday present from my wife.
Very nice.
Oh.
So,
So,
go ahead and
so
interrupt
that's
you.
what it
I
started.
can't get over that.
But in any case, Feller was an interesting guy. His autographs really aren't worth that much because he signed everything but the kitchen table. But the point is that he's still, as Bobby said, arguably the greatest right-hander ever. And it so happened the first night we were there, it was a rainy night, and he asked for a ride home. Joanne had the car, and I asked him at the time. Les Levine, who many of you know, had asked me to do a feed. I don't know if I'm using the right word there. from Arizona, from
From the
Tucson,
fantasy camp,
from Tucson,
right.
from the fantasy camp, and he asked me each day to pull a player out and have him interviewed. So I had asked Bob Feller, and he said, sure. He says, what time and so forth. I said it'd be about 4 o'clock, after the second games they usually end about 4. Well, it so happens that his game was on this field, and we were right next door, and he was done like at about 10 to 4. And our game was, we were winning like 16-1, and we were only in the third inning, and he came over, he said, it's 4 o'clock, when do we start? And I said, well, we're only in the third inning. I said about 4, but, we're running a little bit late. Well,
Didn't you know that in baseball there's no clock?
No, but he had anticipated that the 4 o'clock was going to be an ending time. And anyway, he started to use more profane language at me and swore at me and everything else under the sun. My coach, Mudcat Grant, was just breaking up listening to it. And I said to him, Bob, I can't really say exactly what time it was. He stormed out, and I didn't know what to say to him. On one shoulder here was arguably the greatest right-hander ever. On this one, the guy pissed me off. So I said nothing. And lo and behold, I got Max Alvis to do the interview, and there was a knock at the door in the beginning of the interview with Max Alvis, and guess who it was? It was Bob Feller. He came in and wanted to do the interview anyway.
Oh, so you got his other.
Max Alvis gracefully.
All right, here's somebody I want to know about, okay? You got to be a little older. Our millennials out there don't know who this probably is, but there's no movie star today that can compare to her as far as I'm concerned. Brigitte Bardot. You get a good shot of this one?
Yeah, that was just, she was known to sign a lot of autographs. She was in the United States, and she left an address, and that one, I had never met her, but I had sent it to her with a letter and a note, and she wrote back to Joanne and Larry's, and very nice.
How'd you get her address?
It was public.
Really?
Yeah, well, I had a list of a lot of celebrity names.
You're
and
going to give this one to
addresses.
you, Bruce, because you're a big Ohio State fan. So,
Oh, my Lord. There's some real talent in this. First of all, for those of you who can't spell Ohio, this is it.
right. O-H-I-O.
All right, tell us who these people are.
Okay, this is,
I want you to do it so that you can see, too.
yeah, will you give me a new frame? Because
Well, we're saving up for it.
Anyway, this is Archie Griffin, and this is Reggie Jackson, and that's me, and that's my son Todd.
How did you get Reggie
Just get a
Jackson?
picture of
man?
Todd.
I mean,
Well-
where were you guys?
This was at a card show. This is what the annual, but it's only in Cleveland once every 5 years. They have major stars. So it so happened that Archie Griffin and Reggie were just talking amongst themselves with somebody else, and Todd and I came over, and Archie Griffin happened to be talking about Ohio State. So we asked if they would do an OHIO, and Reggie really wasn't. You could see kind of a scowl on his face. He wasn't really. Can I use the F word?
Yeah.
Well, he said, "Why am I the f***ing H?"
No, you can't use it.
And that was the story.
I thought it was a different F
We had a lot of nice stories then.
Okay. Now, anyway, so we were talking about when your daughter was here, Stacy,
Right.
about how when she had some of the different things that happened to her, when she was able to talk to Bill Clinton.
She was news director for.
She was a news director for a TV station, and she was interviewing Bill Clinton. And your wife, can we get a picture of lovely Joanne Adelman over here? And she knew she was a big fan of Bill Clinton. Of course, what woman in that age group wasn't in those days, right? And Stacy calls, and your mother says, "I've got to put you on hold," and we'll Bill Clinton. And here's the picture of when Stacy was with. This is not Monica Lewinsky, by the way. This is Stacy, right, with Bill Clinton.
That is Stacy. And do you want to tell the story? Would you like to tell this? Do you want her to tell the story? Well, I'll tell the story.
Yeah.
I'll tell the story. It's a lot quicker for me.
Yeah.
But in any case, Stacy had called our house. This was in the Rose Garden, and they were having a picnic there. And she said she quickly handed the phone to Bill Clinton, and to talk to Joanne. And Joanne saw it was Stacy from the message, and she said, "Hold on, I can't talk to you right now." And Bill, that's why they're all laughing.
I was
And
on the other line.
Bill Clinton, she was on the other
Don't
line.
make excuses. It's the president. This is the president.
And Bill,
Tell me it was Bill
Oh, all right.
No, she thought it was her, and Bill Clinton said, "I think your mother put me on hold." And
Great story.
It's
Great
interesting, Bill Clinton, between Bill Clinton and you both got impeached. You got that-
You got one on Nixon?
A lot of commonality there. I do.
All right. Here's one for you rock and rollers out there. Since we had John Gorman on, although he didn't really play this kind of rock and roll music, but remember the song Venus? Frankie Avalon. How about that? A little story
Well, it's
on
an
that?
interesting with Frankie Avalon. His son and our nephew
Let's get this.
were college roommates.
Where was this?
And in California, in L.A. And so we went backstage. This was at the front row, and we went backstage there because we knew Frankie Avalon from this relationship. And he was very friendly, and he has like 9 boys or 8 boys or something like that. And one of them was best friends with our nephew. So
That's some real names.
yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean Frankie Avalon's still actually doing some traveling around. I mean, still
Yeah, he
does
is.
some shows and stuff. Okay, here's one that everybody knows. This guy, right?
Well, I have to say, I
Oh, both of them.
think this was at the same card show. Yeah, that one's autographed with when he's fighting Joe Frazier.
Muhammad Ali, in case anybody
Muhammad
gets
Ali
it.
and Joe Frazier, and I was there with my son Todd, and I've never had more respect for anyone as much as I did for Muhammad Ali. The guy couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, he couldn't do anything, but this one happens to be with me that Todd took with me, and I took one of Todd. But he didn't want to take a picture. He put up his hand like that, didn't say a word, and he wanted to pose in this kind of pose, and he just didn't want to do it. At the same card show, I have to say that the biggest jerk that we've ever seen was Willie Mays. He was getting $300 for an autograph, and wouldn't even bother to look up. And ironically, the plain dealer in the very next day wrote that up about Willie Mays. How many people complained that he wouldn't look up. He'd sign autographs. He was getting $300. And that was the story there. So the best and the worst in that
And
one.
he was ill. What did he have? Parkinson's? Is that what he had?
Yeah, he had Parkinson's, but he got hit in the head an awful lot.
Right here, we've got a great quarterback in Cleveland. We all hope, right? Coming up, maybe one day his picture will be worth something. Here's one of the all-time great quarterbacks.
Yeah,
Johnny Unitas.
Johnny Unitas. This was taken at the Super Bowl. I think it was '81, and I was there with Joanne. It was a firm trip, and my son Todd was there, and he was probably about 11 or 10 at the time. And I said, go over there and I'll take a picture with you and Johnny Unitas. And he said, "Who's Johnny Unitas?"
Todd!
And I said,
Number 19!
No.
and I said, arguably the best quarterback of all time.
The best.
And Todd couldn't believe it. He thought it was Joe Namath or Joe Montana. I said, well, when we go back on the bus, it takes us back to the hotel, I'm going to ask 5 guys, and I say at least 3 or 4 of them say he was the best. And all 5 said Johnny Unitas.
Yeah.
So that was a learning experience for Todd.
Okay. All right, here's something a little different from the entertainment world. And I'm looking at the audience here, and really even millennials know this because when you go to a wedding or a bar mitzvah, you're going to hear the twist. And we've got Chubby Checker, which is...
This is not dissimilar to Todd. This is Chubby Checker with my granddaughter, Danny, who lives in New York now, and she's 25. And she called me one day, and she says, we're doing she was in singing group at the time, and just for foursome, and she said, we're doing a singing session along with Chubby Checker signing autographs and a book signing. And I said, that's great, we'll come. Where is it? She told me. She says, by the way, Poppy, who's Chubby Checker? So that was cute. And she had no clue who he was.
All right, and we all, baby boomers, remember I Dream of Jeannie, right? Give me a little clap. Let me know. Am I telling you, we all remember a little, right? Barbara Eden. So what's the check down here?
This was just a
You
check
pay her
that
for
I put it. No, it was a check that I
It's
put on
Barbara
there.
Eden's personal check.
But it is, and she didn't give it to me. I gotten that at an auction, but she didn't. She signed something, but I decided to put the check on it. But this was also at the front row, And again, her son was best friends with our same nephew in L.A., and my nephew was to be the best man of her son's at her son's wedding, and very unfortunately, he overdosed on drugs, and he died about a month before the wedding was to take place. But she was a sweetheart. She was.
Let me take a look.
She was a great personality. She's a beautiful girl. Still good looking.
Who's Katie
Yeah.
Turner?
That's whoever she made the check out to.
Yeah, $30. She's a big spender.
All right, here's one you gotta like a lot now, especially being a Cleveland Indians fan.
Yeah.
The two Franconas, right? Our manager and his
Yeah,
son.
that was
right?
a fantasy camp. That was a fantasy camp.
It's kind of a fantasy being there with those two
Yeah,
guys, wasn't
it
it?
really was. Well, Terry Francona was kind of a nothing then.
Right.
He was longer. You could see how young he looks there. And Todd is not there. Good question.
You ever hear of him,
Todd's not
Todd?
there. But anyway, they signed her. They were great. But he was just there working out. He actually, I think, was with might have been with the Dodgers organization. But this was in January, so he was working out there.
All right, and here's one. We can't go through all of them, but this is one I think everybody wants to see, of course. And it's going to get to my next question. The Babe himself, Babe Ruth, right?
You've heard of him, right?
How many people have Babe Ruth on autographs?
Todd knows who he
Do we
is.
have? Yeah, okay. Todd, you know who Babe Ruth is, right?
Yeah, this was I bought in an auction, and it was not inexpensive, but he was the best, arguably, and will continue to be. But this was an interesting one too, because he signed it G.H. Ruth. His real name was George Herman Ruth,
right.
and he signed it George. So it's more rare. I have the one that Muhammad Ali signed. I also have one signed by him as Cassius Clay, which is hard to find too.
So, Larry, what are you going to do with all these pictures now? Because I know you're moving, and you're not sure you have the room for it.
Well,
Is Todd, who doesn't know these people, going to get them, or what?
Be a waste, frankly.
Todd-
It'd be a
Todd-
waste.
I mean, yeah.
Todd and Steffi and Stacy, all my kids, they said they don't want any of this, but when you sell it, we'll take the cash. So, that's basically what they wanted. So that's what they'll probably get. But it also seriousness.
Well, how do you go about selling it? I'm just
Well,
curious.
it's-
It's kind of like a buyer beware of this kind of market, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. There was a card show that I was at maybe 6 months ago, and there were two dealers there, and I was telling them about some of the stuff that I had. And actually, they flew in about a month ago and bought quite a bit of stuff, and it kind of gets around. Even when they did the article last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was.
In the Jewish News, if
the
anybody
Jewish
wants to,
News. And I've gotten a lot of calls from that. People have been coming over. I don't know who they are. They may be casing the joint, but they are. They have been coming over, and I've gotten some other calls, and I plan to do some more selling to auctioneers, Heritage and Todd Mueller and things
Are
like
these
that.
listed on your homeowner's insurance?
There's a special.
I would think.
Yes.
Wow,
yeah.
these are special. These are.
So when you see a celebrity now, okay, like Bruce and I or whatever.
Like Bruce and me.
Bruce and me.
Thank you. I gave up months ago. Thank you.
Anyway, I mean, do
There's
you
none
still
of
get
that.
excited about it, or? You
Well,
know?
let me tell you, just basically to answer that question, no, I'm not nearly as aggressive as my son Todd, who's been to the Emmys and the Grammys.
I saw him. He's one of those cheer fillers. You ever saw the
He
Seinfeld
is.
show?
And he's been known as the celebrity stalker of Solon. So he's been accused of that. And Joanne, I have to tell you one very short story about Joanne. We happened to fly to Jamaica when it was was it Bahamas? Oh, was it
Bahamas, Jamaica as well. What does it matter?
Very small airport.
Yeah.
And
Bruce hasn't been to either one.
This
so.
was in the late '60s, and Joanne happened to see Jackie Kennedy, and she was with someone. Her husband had been killed before that, and she was with someone, and she was going in the ladies' room, and Joanne started to go. I said, "No, you can't do that. She says, I'm just going to wash my hands.
Yeah.
And I said, so that was the one that got away. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, we do bump into people. I don't go out of my way. I really haven't been at a card show or done much with auctions in the last year. We've
I
been
have to
too
tell you,
busy.
'cause my wife, whenever we see, I mean, like when Robin Swoboda was here, I thought she's gonna, in her pants, but, she still likes it. I think people still, that's the reason we did the show today, not because of my wife, but because we really know people, am I right, audience, when you still see some of these celebrities like the people we've been talking about here, I mean, it's a big thrill, right?
It is.
Yeah, and-
In fact, let me just do one, the Jerry Lucas one. This is
yeah.
It's kind of a cute story.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess Todd. does
Another
not-
Buckeye.
Todd will not know who Jerry Lucas was.
Todd went to Ohio State. He knows Jerry
Jerry,
Lucas.
I think everybody knows who Jerry Lucas is. He was arguably the best high school player ever come out of Middletown. I know Gail knows who he is. But in any case,
Gail, you didn't date him, did you? No, okay. Well,
but
you remember.
anyway, he and I were very good friends in college. We were in every class together. And in the same class, Havlicek was in my class, and
Oh, okay.
and Bobby Knight, and several others from that class.
He didn't throw any chairs in the.
Not in the classroom. But Jerry and I were in every class together, and the one final that we had left to take was the speech final. And they hadn't changed that final in 30 years. And none of the fraternity houses had it. But we found someone in University Arms, which is a little bit off campus, and we came back to our apartment, stayed up memorizing. He's got an unbelievable memory.
Yeah, he
He's
writes
written
books. He's written books about memory.
on-
Yeah.
And anyway, we both memorized the entire thing. We went to the speech final the next day. They changed the test. So that was completely changed. But
Larry, who's the one that got away? Which autograph should you have gotten, but you didn't get?
I would say Jackie Kennedy, because she didn't go in the bathroom.
And it's your fault
It
too.
was because.
It's always the wife's
they
fault.
lost a suitcase. Well, they had lost one suitcase on the airline, and they said that we should go to the lost luggage department around the corner down the hall. Well, that happened to be the VIP department too, because it was such a little airport. That's why Jackie Kennedy came in a back door, but it was the same counter as we were complaining about our suitcase.
I'd like to see, you should have gone in just to see if she washed her
But
hands.
she came in with.
She wanted to.
She was dating that Louis Templesman, or what is.
Right, yeah, that was after
And he was,
Onassis. Yeah.
he went to the men's restroom and she went to the ladies, and I started walking in and Larry said, don't even think about it. So I missed that.
That
So
is
are
that's the
these,
one that got
did you
away.
pull these off your wall at home to bring them today?
I did actually pull them off the wall.
Listen, we were Lodge Brothers, right? Years
Yes, we
ago?
were.
I need a favor.
I still think of us as Lodge Brothers.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You don't think that way?
Of course I do. I saw called your brother Larry when you walked
Okay,
in.
okay.
Okay, I need you to do me a favor.
I will.
Okay, no one has to listen to this. It's important.
Okay.
Don't tell
Put them
anybody.
back on, Bob. Please don't talk while I'm. Please don't. Go back. You and Joanne, put them all on the wall. I want you to put up a picture. Slide one in of Snyder. People coming in and out of your house. If anybody knows who he is, I'll give you $5.
This is my best friend since fourth grade. All right, good. Let's do. Last week we didn't have an opportunity to do this. We have a John Gorman's book we want to give away tonight. Kind of fits in with the nostalgia here of the Buzzard, WMMS. This is the book and the story all behind it. And if we could, somebody pass up to it, and Larry, we're going to let you pick the name. Everybody, our audience here, somebody's going to get one of the books, and you want to read it? And the winner is
Symphony. I'll let you read it.
Roger.
Roger. All right, come on up, Roger. Let's give Roger a hand. There you go. You're going to love this book. I read it. If you've got any interest at all in Cleveland radio, WMMS, of course, was the station back in the day. And now, for those of you interested, he has a congratulations, Roger.
Good job,
Thanks
buddy.
for coming. And
Okay.
oh wow,
Here, Roger, put
on the
this
internet
your
right
wall.
now.
Put this goes on your wall.
You go on the internet and you can go to Oh Wow, and that's the way to get the radio. It's not a radio station; it's an internet station that John Gorman has put together on the air now. And if you like WMMS, you're gonna love Oh Wow. So thanks to him for that book, Larry. Quick half hour. I hope you enjoyed it. Everybody, what do you think? Good stuff. Right? Yeah, okay. Great stories. I mean, we could do like 2 hours of all these people. I mean, Lou Boudreau, Bob Feller you had already. Wait. Oh, here, I'm going to do one more we got to talk about here. Frank Robinson.
Yeah,
I know there's got to be a story behind
There's
Frank.
definitely a story.
He was the first African-American black manager in the major leagues, and
Cleveland Indians.
have the Indians, just like Larry Doby was the first American League African-American.
Well, I was going to tell the story first. This was taken in 1966, and just ironically, we were in Disneyland in California, and we pulled in the parking lot, massive parking lot, and Frank Robinson pulled up right next to us, and he had just won the Triple Crown, which not too many people have won.
No.
And this is his daughter. She's about 56 now. and in the lower corner here, this was at another card show in Cleveland. And the reason we were both laughing wasn't just smiling for the camera. We were laughing. He was looking at the picture and he says, "Is that what your wife's hair still looks like?"
Oh, that's your wife.
So it was cute. It was
Yeah,
cute.
this is not Frank's wife.
All right.
And he just recently passed away.
This is Larry's wife. Okay, all right. She was always a beauty, wasn't she? Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, again, thanks a lot. Bruce,
pleasure.
next week,
Next
we've
week,
got the scary movie guy,
Phil
right?
Scary with all about Psycho in the shower.
Okay.
Can I
we're-
just take a moment to thank Alan for keeping us safe again?
Yes, Alan.
And one more thing,
Security.
by the way, Bob. You know, our people, we begin the holidays the night before. You know, so it's what we do, right?
Right.
Well, this is gonna we're gonna be up on YouTube approximately 8 o'clock tomorrow night.
Hopefully, if
So
you're
it'll
watching
be-
it, yeah.
It'll be the night before August 1st, so I'll say happy anniversary to my wife.
Okay. Oh, all right. Very nice.
Good to see you, brother.
And yeah, I'm glad you said that because, not to steal the thunder, our anniversary is coming up, and we've got some big announcements coming up. So stay tuned to your YouTube and keep watching because I think you're going to be very impressed and surprised with a couple of the surprises that we have coming for our second year of shows here with the Fabulous Boomer Boys. So until next week, thanks for coming to Corky and Lenny's, and we'll see you all soon. Good night. Thank you, Warren. Thank you. Thank you very much.